Our next one is titled, Please Tell Me It Gets Better. I'm a first-time mom and my daughter is 3 weeks old. I am completely overwhelmed with breastfeeding and pumping. My daughter eats every 50 minutes to 1 hour. I'm pumping in the AM, and so in the morning and night, to build a supply for when I go back to work in 5 weeks. I feel like I'm chained to this couch by either my baby or my pump. It's really starting to affect my mental health. As someone who's always on the go and likes to be doing things around the house, I have looked into getting a hands-free pump, but feel like I should give my electric pump a shot first and get familiar with using this first. Is this crazy and demanding schedule just because my baby is a newborn and I'm feeding her while trying to build a supply through pumping? Is it always this demanding in the beginning? Does it get better? Because I'm a first-time mom and I don't know what to expect, I feel so overwhelmed and can't see the forest through the trees. I'm having so much anxiety about the future and feel like I'll be doing this forever. My husband is so supportive, but I find myself resenting him when he says, I think she's hungry or she's rooting when I just fed her like 30 minutes ago. I cannot even imagine going back to work and keeping up this schedule. How do you mamas do it? I assume when I'm back to work, I'll be breastfeeding less and pumping more throughout the day to supplement. How does everyone else do it? I know my baby eats more frequently than most babies, I assume, so that maybe that's part of it. But right now, I just want to cry and give up. Now, what's really horrifying to me about this one is her daughter is 3 weeks old and she has to go back to work in 5 weeks. Now, I know that there are a lot of places in the world where 8 weeks of maternity leave is normal, but oh my God, like that's already crazy stressful. And then the rest of it kind of boggles my mind as well. So her daughter eats every 50 minutes to 1 hour, which is pretty often. Like for a 3-week-old, that's too often, I would say. However, if she's pumping in between those, then that means that her breasts don't get enough of a break, that they actually fill up with milk again. And so the next time the baby nurses, the baby does not have the opportunity to get full. So every time she's nursing little amounts, and she never actually experiences being full. That's honestly what I would assume is happening. I don't think it's reasonable to try and build a stash already when you're nursing a 3-week-old baby. I think that that's a little bit too soon. Like, you need to give your baby some time to breastfeed first and to have the supply that you need to build up the volume that the baby needs. And then maybe you pump a little bit on top of that, usually, I guess, right after a nursing session. So you breastfeed, you pump a bit to get as much out as you can, and then you try and wait as long as possible before the next time you nurse, and then you do the same thing over and over and over again. And eventually you will build a supply through that, and your supply will be higher than what the baby needs because you stimulate a little bit extra with the pumping. But could you do it in 8 weeks? Honestly, I don't know. 8 weeks just seems very, very, very short to me if you're going to be determined to breastfeed. And I feel kind of terrible for her that she has to be in this type of situation. This point around getting resentful when the husband says, hey, I think she's hungry again. I'm pretty sure that every first-time mom goes through that at least a little bit, where at the beginning you're like, God damn it, but I literally just fed her. Why are you doing this? Are you sure that there's nothing else that anyone else can do? And I think that a big part of that, honestly, is mindset, and trying to switch your mindset around from like, why can't anyone else? Like, why do I have to be the one that does this? Instead, you can say, isn't it amazing that I'm the one that can soothe her and that I'm such a source of comfort for her? And I know that saying, hey, change your mindset is not so easy, but truly it makes such a big difference when you don't approach it from this position of frustration and resentment. So yeah, I think that breastfeeding in and of itself is a really big part of motherhood for the vast majority of mothers that we don't have a lot of experience with. We don't get to see other people doing it very often, and we don't have the kind of support network or the education that you need in order to be able to do it well. And that's why this is one of the topics that I'm super passionate about on this channel, because people seem to have very, I want to say misconceptions, but at the very least they just have a very negative idea of how it works and how it should work. And I think that that's largely because of stresses like having to go back to work after 8 weeks, or because of stresses like, babies need to nurse really very often at the beginning. Not quite this often though. And it's this aspect of not really knowing what's normal and what isn't normal. So you don't exactly know what to expect. To see some of the comments here. This one says, we've all been there. It's just not talked about enough. Unfortunately, it really is overwhelming. I cried every time I nursed my son because I just felt like a milk machine who stayed glued to the couch all day. I had no sense of what day or what time it was. I wasn't sleeping because my son was up every hour. It does get better though. I promise your baby will start to become more predictable as they get older, and soon they will have some sort of a routine. For us, it started when my son was about 6 weeks old. Hang in there. I know it's easier said than done, but we have all been there, and your feelings are 100% valid. We are so hardworking and we never get much credit for it. You're doing an amazing job. This kind of really highlights my point here when she says, I just felt like a milk machine who stayed glued to the couch all day. And that's very much the narrative that you tell yourself. So yeah, I spent quite a lot of time glued to my couch in those first few weeks as well. But honestly, I spent most of it watching Netflix and watching K-dramas and just relaxing. And that made it way less stressful because I just didn't think, oh, this is a problem. Like, I want to be doing something else. If you just accept that this is a season and it's a pretty short season in your life, and this is all you'll be doing for that period of time, and you just own it, you can treat it like a holiday, a couchcation, then that's it. Then that's all there is to it. Then it does not get so stressful for you. Next one here says, babies eat a lot. Every hour is normal. Their stomachs are little, but they feed often. This is standard. I know it can feel overwhelming, but I would suggest looking at it with a different mindset. I would look at it through a lens of gratitude, that at least you can breastfeed and can not only do so, but you can also accomplish building a supply while also having plenty to feed your baby. Be thankful that you have a husband who is not only supportive, but can see feeding cues and help you register them before the baby gets incredibly fussy and it's even harder to feed her. Babies and good husbands are blessings. Don't forget these things when you get caught up in your feelings. And so at least I'm not the only person who says, changing your mindset makes a really, really big difference in terms of how exhausting and how overwhelming the first period of being a mother can be. This one says, make sure you wake her if she's falling asleep at the breast. You want her to fully empty or reach the hind milk so she gets full longer. Also eat lots of nuts and avocados and good fats. I noticed they make my milk more fatty. Good fats. You shouldn't need to pump that often if she's fully nursing. I save about 6 ounces a day from pumping and I'm content with my stash. Your mental health is important for a good milk supply, so take a breather and to take it easy. You got this. I felt like giving up some days, but it will get better. They are worth it. And I wanted to highlight this one just because I find this statement that people say, eat lots of nuts and avocados, eat good fats. So if you want to eat good fats, eat animal fats from healthy animals. And eating nuts and avocados will not change the composition of your milk. So when people say, if I eat lots of fat, then I'm going to have fatty milk, that's not how that works. The actual nutrient composition of your milk is going to be exactly what your baby needs at that age, no matter what. And then you just supplement it with extra, by supplemented I don't mean supplements, but eating a great diet and having a good just a good balanced diet, a good variety of food, a good amount of fat, a good amount of protein in your diet just means that they can take way more nutrients in from those sources. But God, just this people always find the things that they, that make sense to them, that maybe make sense from their experience, and then they always give them as advice as if that's the thing that's going to really dramatically change how often you need to breastfeed is if you eat more nuts. Like, that's not going to be the thing that changes your experience of breastfeeding, okay?